All right, guys, today we got Sonny. He is the owner of SDBA Dragbike Association. What is it? Southeastern Dragbike Association brought me a cool shirt with a nitrous bottle on it. I imagine your bike runs nitrous then?
A little bit. A little bit when I need it.
Sometimes. Does it also have a turbo?
No, mine doesn't.
So if you guys listen a lot, you know I know next to nothing about motorcycle drag racing. I'll be the first to admit that I know nothing about it, and I'll be the first to admit that I've often made jokes about it.
Yeah.
I think everybody, you guys probably make jokes about car racing every now and then.
We're the redheaded stepchild of drag racing. Like, we know it.
I'm sure you're guilty of saying, oh, you need all that cage to protect you, or, the classic jokes.
Yeah, the how big of a trailer do you need? It's,
Yep.
Yeah.
And I've made fun of the guys that are, up there to run like a, when it's like a 15-second pass on their bike and they're, leaning both ways, getting the back tire super warm, gotta get smoke from end to end.
Oh, those guys get made fun of by us too. I mean, and the guys that go up with 10 people up there to line them up to run a 9-second pass. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Come on, let's.
I've always wondered, do you really need to warm up end to end on the tire that much on most bikes?
So,
are you just trying to evenly wear it? What's the concept here? Why are they leaning to where they're touching their knee on the ground in the burnout box?
So that's how I did it. That's how
you have a fast bike.
I mean, my bike runs, I think the quarter mile has been 860s, 870s.
That's pretty fast. 1 mile an hour.
155-ish, 156-ish.
Oh, wow. That's kind of, for a car, that seems almost low mile an hour for the ET.
Yeah.
Seems like about 5 mile an hour, 8 mile an hour off.
But, I mean, I think most of the cars that are running those times, a lot of them are turbo. So, I mean, they're getting that big end.
Yeah.
Where we're making most of our power in the eighth.
What kind of 60-foot do you see on that then?
My bike this past weekend was 128s.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different clutch setups. Like, you've got true hand clutch. What my bike runs, which is called a MTC Gen 2. NTC Engineering runs or they perfected this hand clutch that is weighted and it's designed to slip for you. And so you can just hold the bike on the two-step, dump the clutch, and it slips the clutch for you until the arms lock in. And
So it's a dry clutch. It's pretty much just like a race car.
It's a wet clutch.
Oh, is it still wet clutch?
Yeah, it's still a wet clutch.
I don't understand wet clutches that well. I understand the concept of the centrifugal and everything like that on like a dry clutch, like a drag car. They use the same concept where it auto slips and you add weights and you got to measure little screws and everything.
Yeah, and you still have to do that with this. Yeah. But yeah, it still like fits in the factory. You've got to get an extended clutch cover for it, but and then you've got like full sliders that doesn't. It's just RPM activated. Like that's more like a car style. Like it's just. But the MTC Gen 2, you have to throw the clutch to activate it.
Is that like in the rules where some rules won't allow a slipper clutch?
Yeah. So like the Street ET class, you can run the MTC Gen 2. I think there's another Hayes might make one, but you can't run a full slider. But in like the Pro ET class, you can run full sliders.
So by slider, you mean slipper?
Yeah.
It's same concept. Okay, I was just kind of getting the wording right on that. So when you say slider, it's what we would call a slipper in stick shift drag racing.
Yeah, similar.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's cool technology to add. But then, every brand is so different. Every trans is so different. There's got to be a huge variation there. I mean, even in cars, all the slipper clutches are pretty much on the same transmission. They're all on a T56.
Right.
They're all just a splined shaft. It's like the car doesn't really know what, like the clutch doesn't really know what it's attached to.
Right.
But you guys kind of have more variation.
I mean, yes and no. I mean, most motorcycle transmissions are going to run the same way. They're going to act similar. So Dustin, my buddy Dustin at Hard Times Parts and Service, he is like he's the best at knowing what a MTC Gen 2 hand slider will do in a motorcycle. And like he can send you a tune-up if you order one for whatever bike. He tells you what to put in it, and he set mine up, and I haven't touched it since.
Yeah.
Like it's just
it
works.
Do you order based on what track conditions, like if you're going to be on a sticky track or not? It's
it pretty much to just for the sticky track, like we'll change RPM on the two-step, RPM on the launch, or tire pressure, but rarely change clutch setups for that.
Interesting. So it's just that kind of right out the box. How do you even change the weights on a wet clutch? Do you have to...
So we've got like quick access clutch covers, and it's just 4 bolts. Pull it off with it on the kickstand, and you've got your arms right there, and you just weigh out your weights and throw them on there.
So what's the brand bike, I guess? What's the brand engine? This is how little I know. So
we actually have a T-shirt. I should have brought one of those to show you, but it says just another Busa rider. Like everybody's on a Busa. Like everybody's running a Suzuki Hayabusa and drag bike racing. The other Suzuki GSX-R 1000. Those are like the 2 main bikes. Like Kawasaki's
the newest ones, or is it like there's a certain year that's like, oh, that's the one?
I mean,
or if you go get the newest one now.
Pretty much anything. 99 till they stopped making them. They took a break for like 4 or 5 years, and then they just re-released them. The Gen 3 Hayabusa like 2 years ago, I think. But they haven't really, not enough people have caught on. I don't think the value has dropped to where people are willing to cut them up and make them full drag bike shit. There's a couple guys that have, but for the most part, the 1999 to 2014 Hayabusa, like those are the most common ones.
Pretty much similar enough across the board where if you pick up any Hayabusa, it's gonna be like, okay, you go make that a drag bike.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's so funny. That's a long time to be like.
Yeah,
that's a big window.
And they didn't change much. I mean, 99 to 2008 was Gen 1, and so those were. They only had 1 set of fuel injectors on them instead of 2. 2009, they picked up the second. That's when Gen 2 came out. They picked up
just port injection, not direct injection or anything. I guess that's more of a GM thing and like new modern stuff where it's in the injection into the valve or into the runner.
Yeah, it's into the intake runner.
Okay, yeah. So port injection. Yeah. I didn't know if that was where they put the second set of injectors.
No. So they've got like one on top, one on bottom.
Yeah. Okay, it makes sense.
Yeah. So like as much as confused as you are about motorcycles, I'm as confused about cars. So
perfect, guys. So we're just stumbling through this together.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
Like if you brought me to the drag strip right now and I looked at all the bike guys, I would just be like,
right,
it's a bunch of 2-wheel fellers.
Yeah, and I would be like, that's a turbo, I think. So,
come on, they have turbos on them.
Yeah, there's a few. The Pro Street guys. I think you went to World Cup, right? Oh, by the way, rest in peace to the Miller brother. Chris passed away.
Yes, Chris Miller.
Yeah, Chris was a big.
He was kind of the leading force of motorcycle racing.
Yeah, for XDA. Yeah,
and he was the reason that it was at World Cup, I believe.
Yeah. Jason was a big motorcycle racer, but him and Jason and Chris both had XDA, which was, it's the top level for motorcycle drag racing up in Virginia, Maryland. Like it's the biggest, but
their class at World Cup has always been. That's kind of the only time where motorcycle racing is, to me at least, is like really
that's the big
top
stage.
Level.
That's
people
the big
like
stage.
Justin Shaker.
Yeah, and Mark Rendeluke won it this past year, I think, with the DME guys. Yeah,
it's because I mean those guys are going 6s, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah, they're going. I want to say 637 or something is like the record.
I think people don't realize
it's insane
how crazy that actually is.
It is insane.
That if they lined up with a car, they would be dead even with a lot of very, very fast cars.
Yeah, I mean, what does Garrett's El Camino run?
They would be dead even. with the El Camino. Well,
Right.
they'd probably pull around him at the back end because they probably don't 60 foot as well. So it'd be like El Camino out and then kind of like,
I'd say about 8th mile they'd probably be even, and it would just stick about then. But yeah, those guys are insane.
It's crazy to think that.
Yeah, it's wild.
And those guys are all probably on boosters as well. Boosted Hayabusas.
I'm trying to think. They're all, they're...
I don't think they're allowed to run nitro in those, nitromethane.
I'm not sure what they're not allowed to run nitromethane, but I'm not sure, like, what all the stipulations are. I know there were a couple guys tried running Pro Chargers.
I think I've seen that before where it's kind of off to the side almost. It's not forward facing.
Yeah.
It's like...
They're strange. They sound like a Harley. Mm-hmm. Like they sound just completely off.
Big old V-twin pulling in.
Yeah. And then Brad Mummer had the fastest nitrous pro street bike. Mm-hmm. And that thing was running like, I want to say he ran 660s somewhere on a nitrous, but he's on a GS 1100, which they stopped making in like 86.
Really? And he's using the same chassis, or is it the same engine on a different chassis? Like,
I want to say it's like still a stock style.
Yeah, because I guess how much can you really? You could probably bring one to a chassis shop and be like, I want this all.
Yeah.
I want this all made out of titanium. And they'd be like, okay.
Yeah, and
it would look almost the same.
Yeah, DME has just come out with the full titanium Hayabusa frame that you can just buy off the shelf.
How much does that take off weight? Like 50 pounds?
I don't think it's 50. I want to say...
Because 50 pounds on a bike is huge.
I want to say it's 20 pounds. Like, my bike I weighed it last year at the finals, and it was 460 pounds.
Mm-hmm. Without you on it?
Yeah, without me on it. 460 pounds. Race ready.
Yeah.
Oiled up, gassed up, ready to run, nitrous bottle on, 460 pounds.
Is that how they tech them? They weigh them without driver?
So, I mean, I'm not sure what Pro Street and Real Street do. Like, I'm not at their level, so I don't. But I believe they have 2 different weights. I think that you have to have, like, a certain bike weight and a certain weight with rider.
Interesting.
Because I think there are regulations for, like, if you weigh a certain amount. I know at least with some of the Grudge classes, they have, like, the driver has to weigh at least 180 pounds or 160. Like, some of the Grudge events
Can't put, like, a 120-pound dude on there and be like, oh, all right, go for it.
Yeah, because I've seen them, like, there was a 12-year-old that hopped on one time and was running, like, low 4s in the 8th mile. And I was like,
yeah, that's probably not the move.
That's not my move.
It's also a lot of bike to handle if you're a smaller person.
It is.
Like, you got to take that into account, that, like, you know, keeping the bike on track and going straight.
Right.
Because I've even seen sometimes where they're, like, not going straight, so they're kind of, like, trying to pull them back straight, and you need some body weight to, like, kind of keep it. I've seen it more in NHRA, I think, where they're, like, really trying to keep the bike.
Yeah, last year, Chase Van Sant, like, he was in pro stock, and the wind caught him. And he was leaning so far that his right knee was touching the asphalt, wore through his leathers, and, like, messed his knee up bad. Yeah,
that's crazy. That's where a true rider is shown right there, where you're doing that.
Chase is the dude. But yeah, I mean, like, Chris Jones, he runs Pro Mod, Pro Extreme, and last race they had, he posted a picture where he was leaning so far that his foot, it wore through his shoes and, like, shaved off the end of his toe. And I was like, oh, God.
So it's Pro Mod bike.
Yeah.
And then Pro Stock bike. That's funny. So it's like the same classes, just then 2 wheels.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's a cool way to do
it. Pro Mod bike is like, I want to say Chris has run like 394, 395 in the 8th mile on a Pro Mod. That's just...
Yeah, that's unfathomable deal. What's the tire differences on all those? Because, like, I I don't know what you run versus like what, some
Yeah.
of these other guys run.
So the pro street guys, like up at World Cup, they're running the same thing I am, which is a street legal, DOT approved Shinko hookup or a Dunlop Drag Max that
Shinko hookup?
yeah, a Shinko hookup is most common one that the drag bikes are running, but it's basically a radial.
Yeah.
And I mean it's street legal. And like that's what is really crazy. These guys are running 630s on a street legal front and rear tire.
Yeah.
Like that bike with they've got a headlight, they've got a tail light. Like it could technically really easily be made to ride on the street.
Yeah, they have a cooling system? I'd imagine they still have some cooling system.
Pretty sure they do.
Yeah, so like street bike, I don't even want to get into that debate because the car world has its own. World. I can't imagine what the bike world has, and it's probably even less people. So the street bike world,
the street thing. Stock motor mafia or stockish motor mafia, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, is that what they get into on the bikes?
Yeah, stock motor, stockish motor.
How much service do you think a guy like that has to do? Somebody going 630s, like, are they pretty reliable? It's like, you could do this 10, 15 times
because... They're still pretty reliable. I mean, like, they're not having to tear apart. And that's, a top level of motorcycle drag racing is like top fuel motorcycle. Mm-hmm. Those guys are running, 570s, 580s, but they're running nitro meth, like having to rebuild motors, do all this stuff. The pro street guys are running less than a second slower, and engines are staying together. They're not having to rebuild. It's
like a factory style bike.
Yeah, very much factory style. No wheelie bars, extended swing arm, nitrous or turbo, whichever one you choose. Mm-hmm. They've got certain regulations for how much ballast you can have on it, what's got to weigh on the nose versus what it's got to weigh on the tail.
Yeah, I was going to say, how do you put ballast on the nose? Like, what are you adding? Because, the weights are probably not that big. Like, when I add ballast to my car, it's like a 25-pound weight.
Yeah. So what a lot of people have done is they'll take, like, the front rack and they'll put a fuel cell behind the front. Mm-hmm. That way they've just got, like, a carbon fiber shell for where their gas tank usually is. And they'll put, their fuel cell up under the front end of the bike. They've got weights that like bolt to the bottom end of the forks to add ballast that way.
But you probably don't need as much weight to make a difference. Because a couple pounds on the front is pretty huge on a bike that weighs 400 pounds.
Where I'm at, 560, 570, 8th mile, like we've computed that 17 pounds is a tenth of a second.
If you can take off 17 pounds, it's a tenth of a second. Yeah.
Like that's my math is like 17 pounds is a tenth of a second that you can pick up and go 540s or 530s. I mean, it's pretty substantial there.
How much horsepower do you think you're making then?
Last time my bike was on the dyno, I'm pretty sure we put down like 225. On spray, I think we were at 185 on motor.
That's crazy.
Because 460 pounds.
It's like to go 530s in a car takes 1,500 horsepower.
Yeah. Oh yeah, hands down.
But I'm bringing so much down track with me.
Exactly.
That's the flip side of it is like I'm carrying all this extra things.
Right.
To the end of to the finish line with me, whereas you guys kind of have just the bare necessities of it. Us idiot drag racers are like, let's bring everything.
They've got, like mine's got like an onboard air compressor, just for convenience, because like if I need to air up my air shifter, like I'll just reach back there and flip on the air compressor.
Interesting. Instead of just running like onboard CO2, it's easier to run a compressor.
Yeah, it's so much easier. I mean, there's companies that make little compressors that they're probably they're big around, that wide. Mm-hmm. And it'll pump up your swing arm because our swing arms hold air. Like, that's where our air chamber is. And so it'll pump the swing arm up to like 160 psi, and then it'll use 40 psi.
So
in
the
a pass.
swing arm is the air canister? Like it's actually like designed to hold air?
Yeah, one of the cross braces is designed to hold air.
Why did they do that factory?
No.
Okay, so you guys do that just to hold air.
The aftermarket swing arms do that.
Just for the air shifter?
Yep.
Huh. That's pretty cool. That's
it's
interesting.
A pretty smart idea.
Way to like save weight and simplicity, I guess. I guess that makes sense not to have a CO2 bottle. But even having it on board, why not just like fill it up? Do you go through like a whole swing arm?
No, I mean like, so it holds like 160 psi, and we'll go through 40 psi. Usually air yours up to 130 to make a run. It'll hold 160. So like I'll air up to 130. One pass, it'll use 15 psi. So drop down to 115. Then you just turn your air compressor on and it'll air back up in about 10 seconds. It's like just the simplicity of being able to do that versus having to say, hey, Jimmy, go grab my air gun and air this thing up real quick. It's just like, self-sufficiencies, there's a price on it, right? Like, it's the same with cars. Like, how self-sufficient can you be, and how much is it worth to you?
Yeah, everything's kind of a give or take, a trade-off.
Yeah.
You got to pick your battles a little bit there, and what's worth it. And even like, when I was thinking about this, I was like, what? Even adding like wiring and like a whole ECU is like a whole complexity and weight, because that's a lot.
Yeah. So like Fuel Tech and Max ECU, like they're becoming a big thing in motorcycles right now. Like
they have the 550, I think, or the 450 is for the bikes.
I run a 550 on mine.
Okay.
I run a 550 on mine, and Ryan Schnitz, he makes a killer. It adapts onto the factory harness. So it just it's a plug and play. You plug the factory harness into his harness. It's like an added 10 pounds or something, but you don't have to rewire the whole bike. You just plug it into his harness, plug it into Fuel Tech, and you can run Fuel Tech that quick.
Yeah, that's a cool way to do it. It's interesting that you guys are all switching to aftermarket ECUs on those deals, because you would think a lot of people like the OEM stuff, especially for like a clutch system where it might be harder to control. Yeah. The OEMs kind of probably have a really good system for controlling the clutches and the shifting.
I mean, the clutch is all mechanical.
Yeah.
Like nothing is ECU about the clutch. So like that's not an issue. Would
it just be shifting time then? You control at what RPM it shifts at?
So the biggest reason I switched was data. Like just simply the data you can get, as you know, is insane.
Do you add any added sensors on top of that?
I've added like nitrous, air compressor pressure, stuff like that. But and fuel pressure. Like used to, we didn't have fuel pressure. Like with factory, you didn't have a fuel pressure, and so last year, I was fighting issues at 2 different races and didn't realize I had a weak fuel pump that was going out. And when I finally figured it out, then the rest of the season I was doing great. But I was like, if I had the data to tell me that my fuel pressure was low, I could have saved 2 or 3 races.
Yeah, losing a couple races will make you spend some money real quick. Yeah. Having a couple issues like that. I've been there where you're just kind of fed up.
Yeah, you get fed up. You're like, I keep blowing the tire off. And it's stupid stuff. It's not like you're winning you're losing because of a good race. You're losing because of stupid stuff. Yeah. And that makes me furious.
Losing due to your, like, losing the race on your own, like, doesn't matter what the guy in the other lane did. Right. You lost your own race is the worst way to go out.
It's horrible.
I've done that too, where I bump through the light or something stupid, don't get off the starting line, and it's just like, I'm giving away wins right now.
Left my bike in second gear once in the finals of Super Comp, because like I did a burnout. I got up there, I noticed my air pressure was too low. So I hit the switch to air it up, got it up, never put it in first because we do burnouts and most people do burnouts in seconds. So
Yeah. Do you start in first and then go to second, or you just okay?
Oh, in the burnout?
Yeah.
No, just start in second.
Just start in second.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like I've done just stupid stuff, and it makes me so irritated.
Probably same with like the way that I try to have like a system.
Yep.
When I pull into the burnout box, I try to do the same things at the same time.
Yep.
Try not to do anything crazy, and then I've been there too, where I get caught up in like one thing, like you try to turn on your air pump, and then suddenly you're kind of thrown off.
Yeah, I think we got distracted earlier when you asked about doing the burnout, like side to side. Like, it's how I do mine, and it's just because that's how I count. Like you said, like having a routine, like that's how I count. I throw it to one side, I'm there for 3 seconds. I throw it to the other side, I'm there for 3 seconds. I bring it back to the middle, I'm there for 3 seconds. I pull out. I'm like, that way I know I'm doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I think that's why some people do it. Some people do it just to show off. But
I feel like some people do it because they saw somebody else do it.
Yeah.
And then it just trickled down.
Yeah, that's a lot of times.
Because, your first time at the drag strip with your motorcycle, you're like, oh, that's how you do a burnout.
Yeah.
I have to go side to side. I have to swing the back end around.
Throw some flair to it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting the way people do things sometimes.
But for the most part, for a lot of people, it's probably not needed.
My favorite is the guys that get up there and just purge like an entire bottle of nitrous on the starting line. Those guys... They're my favorite.
No ECU, so you're not even looking at pressure.
Like,
you don't even know what pressure it is.
I'm like, why are y'all spraying so much, purging so much? You're like...
I try to purge as little as possible because I look at the gauge and I'm like, it's like 970.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I just need to clear out the line a little bit, but I don't want it to be under 950.
All right.
So I'm just like...
just a tiny little...
Exactly.
There used to be a guy who... He used to come to the track all the time. And I mean, I swear, it was like a 10-second purge on the starting line. He had it straight up in the air, so it was just smoke clouds. And I was like, Jimmy, why are you doing this?
Need the lights with it too.
Yeah, he was like, I mean, it looks cool. I need to get my bottle pressure down. I'm like, your bottle pressure should never be so high that you have to purge that much.
I pulled up with 1,500 psi in the bottle.
Like, I've got 1,300 psi, and I'm like, why? Why?
Yeah, because you warmed it up before you pull up. I'm sure it doesn't have an onboard warmer.
No, and this was back in like the early 2000s, so they for sure didn't.
Nitrous was cheaper as well.
It was a lot cheaper back then. Yeah,
it's really gone up. It's like $12 a pound now.
I think it's cheaper where I'm at. I know for a 55-pound bottle, I pay $250. It's like $5 a pound up there.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
It's not too bad, but
it's worth purging a little.
I mean, I'm going to disagree, but
no, I try to purge as little as possible.
Yeah, those guys.
I point mine straight forward though, so if somebody walks in front of my car,
right,
I can spray them there.
Yeah,
just in case.
How many guys do y'all have with no cooling systems to run like 6 and 7 second passes?
Well, a lot of in the drag racing world, the guys that are like that, they'll just put no time on their car.
Yeah.
And they won't line up with anybody. So when a car goes down the track by itself with no times on the board, it looks unreal fast.
Yeah.
But you just stick that little no time deal on there, suddenly you're the fastest guy at the track.
Yeah. Yeah. Motorcycles are the same way.
Yeah.
Motorcycles are the same way.
And I get it, if you just want to go putz around, but just put the cooling system on. Like, there's no reason not to have one. It's very easy.
It's so simple. It doesn't add that much weight. And I mean, you're not going to save enough for it to matter. I mean, if some of these Pro Street and Real Street, like the Real Street guys, so Real Street is similar to Pro Street, but they require like shorter wheelbase, actual throwing the clutch.
Yeah.
They can't have like a centrifugal clutch. Like they're true hand clutch guys.
And so you're like slipping it yourself?
Yep. And they're running like 720s in the quarter.
Oh, wow. And
I'm like, those guys have full cooling systems and they're running 720s. Like you're running like a 930 in the quarter don't take your cooling system off.
Yeah.
Dude. It's
If you have to get pushed back by a Vespa on your 920 pass on your motorcycle, you might want to reevaluate your build a little, I'm sure.
There's some stuff there.
And even slipping the clutch when you have a short wheelbase is probably sketchy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, if you let that thing out a little too, your finger slips a little bit, or like you
those dudes are riders. Like, those dudes are hardcore. They can ride a bike.
I see them a lot, like, they a little too quick and they start to buck and kind of wheelie and land back down and like kind of, because you get into that, like, it starts to buck and you kind of panic a little bit and it bounces and then you hit the throttle a little more. So you kind of...
Yeah.
And I've never really ridden like a bike like that, of course, but I can visually see what's happening, and you can see that, when they bounce, the throttle's going to start to
you've
do
ridden
that.
a dirt bike before, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I've ridden like four-wheelers and stuff like that.
Yeah, like you get on one of those and you get a little whiskey throttle and it's...
Once it starts bouncing, you give it more throttle.
It can get out of hand real quick. Those guys, like the guys that are true hand clutching, like they're heroes. Like like I said, I've got that Gen 2 hand slider, and like I don't want any part of true hand.
Well, it's the same guys that like stick shift drag race. Like, I respect them, but I'm too lazy for all that.
Yep.
I like the consistency. I like my button. I like to I'm sure you can cut a much better light than them.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I like to just.
Consistency, like, don't have to think about it. Yeah.
It's cool. They can keep doing it.
You mess up the clutch throw a little bit, and it's like, okay, now where's the nitrous button? Because I gotta, spray to get there, and it's like, I don't want to have to do that. Like, I just want to be able to repeat the same pass.
Yeah, and especially if you end up in like a bracket race type of motorcycle,
which is most of what we do. Like most of what we do is bracket and index racing.
Yeah, so you're crazy to have a stock style clutch on there.
But dude, like I made it. So I won the street ET class this past weekend. And the guy that I ran in the finals was on a true hand clutch, short wheelbase Hayabusa, and he made it 7 rounds. He made it 7 rounds on a true hand clutch. I mean, putting out guys with all the gizmos and everything, and that
happens in car bracket racing too. Like there's just some guy that like
there's some guys that are just bad dudes.
Like, and they kind of get a little bit of luck, some skill, and then
what's his name that won the million last year?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his name with the green, whatever that was.
Yeah,
freaking. I don't even know.
Was it Vega?
Monza or something?
Monza.
Yeah,
it was a Monza. Yeah.
I don't know his name, but yeah, he just kind of.
Yeah, like
nothing crazy.
Just out of nowhere from Michigan, open trailer, generator, and a tent, and freaking don't like those guys. I look up to those guys because I'm like, y'all have skill that is just unmatched.
Yeah,
but I'm not willing to go like even try my hand at it.
Well, that guy with the hand slipping his clutch, he probably showed up eager to win the whole deal.
Yep.
He thought he was going to win the whole deal, and he's that's the energy it takes.
Yeah, I mean, that's it, dude. Confidence, 100%. Confidence.
So what's the deal with your race that you put on? What kind of classes are there? Is it mostly bracket racing? Is it a lot of heads up? Like, how do the classes kind of shake down?
So like we've got Pro ET, which is pretty much any kind of bike, wheelie bar bikes, anything that you can imagine can enter bracket racing. So Pro ET, bracket racing, wheelie bar bikes, everything. We've got Proving Grounds, which is a really cool class that we came up with 2 years ago. It's beginners. It's true beginners. Like, dude can ride in off the street on his Harley, enter it. It's free to enter. They race for a trophy, and it's just like, it's true beginners. And it's designed so that they can run it until they feel comfortable enough to move into a real class.
That's cool. How do you make sure that it's beginners?
I watch. So
So you're the judge and the executioner on that deal.
So I'm racing in the event, plus I'm running the event, plus I'm monitoring the Proving Grounds class. But yeah, like I actually moved 2 guys up this past weekend because I looked at their lights and I was just like, This one guy had like a 060, and we're on bracketry. He's like 060, and then his next pass he was like 102, but he was running within like a tenth of himself bracket racing, and I was just like, man, like I feel like you're too close. Like I feel like you're not beginner. Yeah. So I moved 2 guys up this past weekend because
that's a cool way to do it. Just be like, oh no, I'm the decider, and too bad.
You know, it's like, but I'm always nice about it. Like I'm like, listen, dude, like we're just gonna move you into the true hand clutch ET class right now. Like it's still bracket racing. We're gonna move you in. You're gonna have to, and because like I love racing as a sport more than anything. And sometimes, you know, I make dumb decisions. Like I was, in terms of money, like I was just like, hey, I'm going to give y'all free entries. Like we're just going to move y'all up for free straight into this class. Because I feel like to reward you for trying to get better, and you did get better. Like I feel like I'm going to reward you and move you up for free into this class. And
sometimes as a promoter, it's worth eating.
Yeah, I mean,
that cost.
It's like $120, but it's like $120 is what if it grows the sport.
Yep, you kept 2 racers around.
Yeah,
hopefully they'll come to the next one, and
I'm sure they will. And so we've got that. We've got Streety, or we've got Top Gas. Top Gas is next class. It's 510. All of our racing is 8th mile, so Top Gas is 510 index. And
what is a Top Gas bike?
Wheelie, there's been kind of a shift now from the wheelie bar bikes to Hayabusas that are running. I mean, those guys are spraying a lot of nitrous. And
the Hayabusa guys?
Oh, yeah, they're spraying a lot of nitrous.
What kind of shot do you put on a
120 shot?
Oh, that's pretty serious. I mean, you're talking anytime you double the horsepower on a motor with a power adder is insane. Yeah. So, I mean, what do they make, 100 horsepower, 120 horsepower stock?
I want to say 140-ish
Yeah,
stock,
so they're doubling.
Something like that, yeah.
Like, you know, think about your LS.
Yeah.
And think about doubling it with nitrous.
They're building their motors to like 1596s, 1407s, like stuff like that. They're building the motor, but they're still running like 100 shot of nitrous on it off the hit. Like one guy's spraying a progressive 25 horsepower shot off the hit, progressing to 100 by like 1.5 seconds. And he left his bike in neutral, hit the auto shift at second gear on the starting line, spraying like on spray, wide open, second gear drop, and it broke his swing arm in half. It broke the axle, broke the swing arm, tire hugger just shattered, went everywhere. We're afraid it might have broke his input and output shaft. Like it's...
Yeah, that's a bad deal. Yeah, motors are not happy with that.
No.
Zero load whatsoever.
No.
And just free rev some nitrous into there.
Yeah, I've seen some guys explode carbon fiber wheels doing that. Like it's...
How does it get the drivetrain that badly? Like, how does it, I get how it, like, hurts the motor, but, like, it's crazy that it hurts the whole drivetrain. The auto shift just tries to put it into gear.
Yeah, the auto shift.
So it just tries to, like, slap it into gear real quick.
Yeah, so it's slapping into second gear at a dead stop from, at 11,000 RPM.
Okay. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah, at 11,000 RPM... neutral drop to second gear, it just destroys stuff.
Yeah, what does a carbon fiber wheel cost on one of them deals? Not to completely tangent, but I want to say like 2,500-ish. Ooh, yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
What does even like a chain cost for a bike? Like, do you have to service those frequently?
I change mine every year.
Is like the sprocket more of a service item? What?
I mean, there's not that much service on them. Like honestly, like. At least on mine, which is a Super Comp 560 bike, there's not a lot. Like change your oil and freshen up the motor every other year. Like change your rear sprocket and your chain every other year.
That's not bad. I mean, even changing oil, what is it? A couple quarts?
6.
6. Oh, wow.
Yeah, so 6
Holy
quarts.
cow. Well, I guess the clutches make sense.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's a lot. I
Yeah,
mean,
it's a lot of oil.
My car holds 6 quarts and is 3 liters.
Yeah. Yeah, the old GS 1100 and like KZs, like they hold 3 quarts. Like that's what I used to think of because that's what I started out on. And then I went to the Hayabusa and I was like, called my buddy Dustin up. I was like, hey, how much should I put in this? And he was like, 5.5. And I was like, holy crap, dude. Like 5.5? Yeah.
And it's probably not just motor oil. It's probably some fancy
yeah. Pin grade is what I run.
Yeah.
Pin grade 1040, order from Summit.
okay. I run pen grade too. I assumed I guess the clutches needed something a little different.
It's 1040 motorcycle oil.
Yeah. Okay.
Some guys run Shell Rotella T diesel oil because it has the zinc additives.
The car guys do the same stuff, man.
Yeah.
I run the pen grade, and a lot of my buddies run the Shell from Costco, the T5, T6 for a diesel. They swear by it. If you run Rotella T6 or T5, you are their biggest supporter.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. And I raced motocross for a while, and like that's what we ran in the dirt bike. I was, fine, whatever.
But it's cheap and it works.
Yeah, but it's in a dirt bike. But then like moved to the drag racing, and it's like, all right, I've got, this bike's worth 12, 14 grand. It's like, I just don't know if I'm comfortable putting the Rotella diesel oil in there.
It feels weird.
I'd rather spend my $60 or, $80 and go pin grade and just make sure nothing's happening.
The argument they always make on a turbo car is turbos make the oil very hot.
Yeah.
Like really cooks the oil, especially if it ends up sitting in the turbo at all.
I could see that.
So that's the argument they make, but I've always had good luck with pen grade. I run ethanol, so it ends up with a good amount of ethanol in it.
Right.
What fuel do you run? Gasoline based or?
Right. Yeah. VP Blue C12.
Okay. So yeah, gasoline based fuel.
Yeah. Everything's gasoline based with us. Some guys run like oxygenated MRX02, MR12.
Not ethanol.
I want to say there's like 3 guys that run ethanol.
Okay. Huh.
There's a Harley that runs on ethanol.
It's just weird that that's not more prevalent, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what.
Such a good fuel.
It is. Yeah.
And it's so easy. Maybe, I can't. Sure, somebody knows.
Yeah, some of the like street guys that build like these high horsepower street bikes to actually ride on the street, turbos, they'll run E85. But racing, not a lot.
You don't seem like somebody that cares to drive a high horsepower street bike on the street.
No.
And do
I
street shenanigans, I guess you could.
I want none of that.
That's the best described as street shenanigans.
Yeah, 1,000%. Those guys, they come flying past me on the interstate, and I'm like, dude, come on, we don't need to do this. You're not proving anything to anyone. Like it's.
I had yesterday I was driving and I had a guy like, weave in between like a closing gap and then like through the next closing gap, and then like I saw him go like 4 gaps and they were all closing. And I was like, I bet that's the same guy that's yelling check twice for motorcycles.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna zip past me through 2 different gaps and then also tell me to check. No. I can't.
There was a guy on my Facebook and he was like, stop throwing your grass clippings into the road. And I was like, you're the same dude that's doing 190 on the interstate, weaving in and out of traffic. You don't need to worry about grass clippings, dude. That's not your concern.
Yeah, I've often wondered about the grass clippings thing. I don't know. I've never, like I said, I'm not a bike guy. If you're going the speed limit in my neighborhood, and you hit grass clippings, I'd imagine you'd be okay.
Yeah, I mean,
if you're taking one of these turns in my neighborhood at 50, probably not.
Yeah.
Don't go 50
exactly
in a residential neighborhood.
Exactly.
Your highways are probably not going to have grass clippings.
No. I mean, I've been to like some of the state like mowers have thrown grass into the middle of a turn before that I've hit, and I'm like, whoa, that's maybe we shouldn't do that, because I used to ride on the street quite a bit. I had a cruiser that I rode on the street, but I was like, hey, let's not throw that. But if you're mowing your yard, like, I mean, people just have to not, like, think. Like, just run the speed limit. You'll be okay. Like,
Yeah. That's kind of how I've always felt. And there's also, like, leaves that end up in the street as well. Like, like, I've ran over, like, ladders in the street on my truck.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of the crux of being on the street is
like,
anything's on the street.
Cardboard boxes. I mean, like, there's gonna be stuff. Like
you should drive a vehicle that you're kind of comfortable.
The problem is people stop realizing that they're around. Like, vehicles are so common now that people forget what they're capable of and what they really are. And it's like, okay, like, you're riding a motorcycle. Like, you're not just sitting on it. Like, you're riding it, and you have to be in control at all times. And, like, people get too lax with it. People forget that, like, what a car or a truck can do. Like, my dad was standing in front of a motorcycle trying to line it up on the starting line one day. And they did a dry hop. They just adjusted the clutch, and it hit my dad. And it messed him up bad.
Yeah.
And I was like, he's like, I've done it before and nothing's ever happened. I was like, dude, but it's like a 200 horsepower motorcycle, and you're just standing in front of it.
Yeah.
Expecting nothing bad to happen. I was like, that's going to happen 9 times out of 10, but when it doesn't, like, you end up in the hospital with a broke hip and a broke knee. Like, people have just, like, stopped respecting what things are capable of.
Even at the drag strip, I mean, it's you got to be very vigilant.
Yeah.
At all times at the drag strip. I mean, I don't like to stand behind cars doing burnouts, especially bikes doing burnouts. I feel like they're a little more likely to kick something back.
Yep, kick a chain out or something.
Yeah, or just even like a little pebble or something.
Yep.
You know, they clean the tires off, and I see so many people standing behind the burnout box, and I'm like, what are you doing?
the guys that gather around for grudge racing.
Yep.
I'm like, no thanks.
I'm sure it happens in the bike grudge racing world as well.
Yep.
And you could even get closer.
Yep. Oh yeah, you can reach out and touch a bike. Like, it's...
Well, I saw there was a drag race the other day, and, you know, the cars, like, people were almost to the 60-foot cone.
Yeah.
Crowding to the 60-foot cone.
Yeah.
The car's going 100 miles an hour by the 60-foot cone.
Yeah, easy.
Like, that, like, a lot can go wrong there.
Yeah, it's...
I don't trust any car, any driver that well.
No. I mean, because...
Especially the random guy at the grudge night.
People just forget, like, how... Like, what they're capable of. Like, it's...
Even in Florida, we don't have... You know, I'm fine with it. Like, I don't think there should be, but we don't have helmet laws on a bike.
Yeah.
I don't think there should be a law, but I would still wear a helmet, and I still think you should wear a helmet.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, okay, I get it, you know, like, cool, they didn't say I have to.
Yeah.
Great, but like...
Get Gary Busey'd real quick.
Yeah.
I'm not...
Exactly. Like,
because that's what happened to Gary. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's completely ruined after that.
Completely different person.
And it's happened to plenty of people where, like, you can fall off of a bike almost at a standstill and bang your head.
Yeah. It's a risky thing.
It doesn't make sense. I've always heard you dress for the slide.
Yeah, dress for the slide, not the ride.
Not the ride. And in Florida, it's tough because it's 100 degrees out.
Yeah. So I'm the worst at that. Like, when I did ride on the street, like, I was usually in shorts and a t-shirt, but I always wore a helmet. Like, even in Florida, like, always wore a helmet, always wore gloves, always wore closed-toed shoes.
Yeah.
The flip-flop guys, those guys are real wild. They're on a level I'd never hope to achieve.
Even shifting your bike with flip-flops just sounds uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Just operating a bike in flip-flops doesn't sound fun. And the exhaust is right there.
Yeah.
On most of these Harleys and stuff.
Yeah.
But even like when you talk about safety with your program, it's very easy to visibly see the safety that the guy pulls up to the line with.
Yeah.
Like bracket racing, the joke is like they wear like Hey Dude
Oh,
shoes and
Yeah.
pajama shorts at the line.
Yeah. And like,
But you can tell pretty easily, like,
but that's accurate.
that guy's dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah. The car guy thing with Hey Dudes is accurate. Like, I can't tell you how many people at the, at some of the races I've been to, like, I see hop out in Hey Dudes or,
Yeah.
you know, Johnny LaBouse, who's one of the most famous bracket racers of all time. Like, he would get out wearing like shorts and barefoot every time. But yeah, like we're able to like, you know, we require helmet, full face helmet, gloves, shoes above the ankle, preferably leather, like preferably a leather shoe or boot, or an equivalent, and above the ankle.
Yeah.
And you know, pants. If you run faster than 6.0 in the 8th mile, you've got to have leather pants, leather jacket.
Is leather still the standard of safety? It's interesting that forever it's been leather. I figured there'd been something that maybe...
Leather is the standard. It's they tried to do like a leather synthetic not too long ago, like 90s. They tried doing like a leather synthetic, and it would like melt when it hit the asphalt, like it slid. Like it was not great.
So the good old leather is still the move.
Yeah.
I saw a guy the other day riding like a whatever those little like pocket Honda deals are. But,
yeah, the Groms.
Yeah, the Grom. Yeah. And he just had chest vest.
Oh, God.
A t-shirt, shorts, Hey Dudes, and like a chest vest and a helmet. I was like, what is the chest thing gonna do?
Nothing.
Like,
no, he's going for a look there.
You've never seen a slide, have you?
No, that's like a miniature Sons of Anarchy or something he's trying to achieve.
That's kind of how I felt. It was like, I think you're probably not doing any favors.
No, not at all. But
I get it maybe at drag racing if you got your leathers and then also your chest guard.
Yeah, not really. But
no,
yeah,
chest guard is just kind of...
Chest guard is,
just for looks.
Yeah, I mean, most of the time, like, if you go down, it's going to get your arms, it's going to get, like, your knees, your feet.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I just had a new set of leathers made, and Kelsey at NJK in California, he makes swimming. He does a lot of road racing. So, like, he sees, because road racing guys go down a lot.
Yeah.
So he sees, like, where the impact is and where it's not. And so, like, where it's not, he puts in, like, nylon, like, stretchable, breathable nylon materials. And so, like, right from your inside of your arm up through here and into your chest is, like, a breathable...
spots where you're not going to...
It's like a breathable nylon strip that's makes it comfortable.
What does a custom set of leathers cost? Because, like, a custom race suit is, like, $2,000.
$1,500 to $2,000 for an American made. You can get
interesting.
You can get the overseas
Ling Long.
Yeah, Rapid Racewares or Cheers. Cheers was another one. But yeah, you know, the best three. There's Bates, Vanson, and my personal favorite NJK.
Yeah. So you measure for custom leathers, and then they put the padding everywhere that's needed as well.
Yep, they custom fit them, design them. You know, you can make them whatever color you want. I
guess that's why most people don't have them on the street is that added cost, and you know you got to get custom made for them and everything, where they probably look a little funny if they're not for you.
Yeah, they look. They're off.
And that's probably why a lot of like bike guys have jockeys to ride the bike, because if you already have that gear, it's a lot easier, like the Grudge guys, to put somebody else that has the stuff on a bike.
Well, the Grudge guys, they'll build bikes and then put a jockey on it just for weight. Yeah. I mean, those guys, 130 pounds. I mean, there's full-grown men that are 130, 140 pounds that are jockeying these bikes that are, I mean, high 3 seconds in the 8th mile. That's
for a Grudge bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, no time Grudge bike.
Yeah. I mean,
that's pretty wild.
There's some that I know can run like high 390s.
I've never seen Grudge racing. I mean, we talked about this a little bit where Bradenton has a huge bike scene.
Yeah.
Like, if you go to Bradenton any test and tune night, there's full lane of bikes.
Yep.
But I don't think I've seen any Grudge racing. It seems like they're just doing it for fun. Like, they're just kind of like, we got these bikes, and I don't trust being on the street with it, so...
So one of the biggest motorcycle Grudge races of the year is called Grinchmas, and it's at Orlando. There's a big, like, it's all motorcycles. Yeah. All motorcycle Grudge race, and it lasts for, like, 3 days of motorcycle Grudge racing.
Just Grudge racing.
And I want to say, like, last year, or it might have been the year before, it was like $100,000. It's like $100,000 payout for motorcycle Grudge racing.
Oh wow! So do they do like a bracket almost, or like a chip draw type of race for
Pretty
that?
sure it's chip draw.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because obviously bracket doesn't work, but like chip draw for like whatever 32 cars or however they do it.
Yeah, they'll do like 16 bikes. I mean, at like $50,000 payday or something. It's intense. And those guys are, I mean, they come to play. But yeah, they've got jockeys in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, there's been some like big motor bikes made in the past. Like, I mean, everybody's seen like the V8 bikes and stuff, but you never see them do anything drag race oriented. Is it because they're so damn heavy as well?
They can't hook. I mean, you try to put that much power down off the line, it's just never gonna do anything.
Yeah, especially through a clutch that's
you
gotta go through like a
I mean, it's stupid. Like some of them are like 1-to-1, like just a 1-to-1, like straight connection, no transmission, just
made for pure to look at.
Just made to look at. You know, Viper had the what was it? I think it was the something Eagle. Silver Eagle, maybe?
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, Jay Leno had one. It was the motorcycle with the Viper V10 motor in it. It's like, I mean, it looks cool, but why?
It's a great showpiece for somebody like Jay Leno.
Yeah.
Like, I got a Viper V10.
Yeah, they're cool.
Bike, it's cool for that, but yeah, I mean, a Hayabusa would probably be a better bike all around.
Yeah, I mean, ride back from the end of the track. You don't have to get pushed.
Yeah.
You know, and...
Well, even two-wheel drive bikes is a whole interesting thing in itself because there's
those things.
It's becoming a bit more of a thing, but the chains are like a whole thing. So for two-wheel drive bikes to work, it has to have a chain up to the handlebars and then a chain back down to the...
Yeah, I want nothing to do with that.
I can imagine somebody would try it, maybe.
If one of those spit out... And, oh, God.
A chain right in between your arms and right next to your face.
No, thanks. I'm going to pass. Yeah, there's a few wild things.
Well, they can hit grass clip-ins without going down, maybe. So that could be good.
Could hit grass clip-ins.
It's safe for that.
Yeah, there's a lot. But yeah, we do 510 index.
Yep.
Street ET, which is pretty much street legal. Like they have to be headlight, tail light, street legal tires, no wheelie bars.
Yeah.
But you can have that Gen 2 slider, like that hand-thrown hand slider. We run junior dragsters at our race, which I know.
They fit. I see them fit a little bit in the bike world.
I'm sure car guys are like, yeah, y'all should just... Juniors should run at all motorcycle events.
I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
They have their own events here at Bradenton, too,
though,
so that's nice. I mean, it's tough to have juniors involved in, like, a car race because it's hard to have junior dragsters running around at a full-size car race. Like, it's not the safest thing.
Right.
Like, I don't want to be up on the shutting my car down, and there's, like, a bunch of kids somewhere right up there. You know what I mean? Like
it's sketchy.
Or like driving up to the lanes and there's like a parent dragging two juniors up. Like, of course, I'm not just gonna like run over children, but like it adds a level of like
it makes it difficult. But the problem is like, because we love having juniors race with us, but most of the junior parents also race.
Yeah.
So they want to race at the car race so that they can race too. So, you know, it adds a little bit of a difficulty. But we run juniors. Then we run 560 Super Comp, which is an index, you know, 4/10 Pro Tree, heads up 560 index. True hand clutch ET, which is street ET, but they have to have a true hand clutch.
Yep.
And dude, that is like my favorite class to watch, because we were talking like those guys can ride. And there was one dude, he actually painted my bike this winter, Fitzy. He went trip zip dead 2 on a true hand clutch.
Yeah.
Like 100% dead on the tree, and then ran, like he was dialed like a 590 and he went 5902.
Basically unbeatable.
And I'm like, how are you doing this, dude? Like that's insane.
Yeah, you have to have a lot of laps to pull off something like that.
That's an intense class. But we've got true hand clutch. Then we've got V-twin. So that's like the little Harley ET bracket race they run. And then 6.0 Ultra Sportsman, which is 6.0 index.
I'd imagine the Harley rider is a different type of rider than your typical Hayabusa rider.
Yeah. Yeah. Most of the time, those guys are...
Been doing it a while, older guy.
Yeah, older guys. They
probably don't like the Hayabusas.
Yeah, there's some of them. You know, I actually built so Suzuki in the early 2000s came out with a V-twin sport bike called a SV1000, and it fits the rules of V-twin. And so like I built it to run the V-twin class. And I'm not running it this year in the V-twin class, but I did last year, and it's a cool bike, like a V-twin that revs to 10.5. You know, Harley guys not a huge fan of it, but the
well,
you know, the Harley guys, they're there to have fun. They're there to they're there for good times and hang out and just enjoy being at the races.
Yeah, I mean that's how a lot of bracket racing really is. You know, it's just kind of the weekend hobby and have fun and hopefully win some money and hang out with your friends.
Yeah, motorcycle drag racing, bracket racing is like, it's somewhat like that, but I mean, it gets pretty...
Oh, yeah, of course.
It gets pretty heavy. Like that's our thing is like, it's like a family. Like whenever we have a race, like everybody's like cooking, hanging out. And we hang out till like 3 a.m. And then wake up at 7 to race the next day.
How many races do you do a year?
6.
6, okay.
Yeah.
Is it a point series as well then too?
Yep.
Cool. Yeah, so you do an end of the year points deal.
We're in Northwest Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee. We've got one in Louisville, Kentucky.
Cool.
So 6 race series.
And then you go to the same track more than once?
Go to, this year, the only track we're running twice at is Still, Alabama.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good track, though. That facility is really nice.
I love that track. I love Still, Alabama.
Yeah, I've been wanting to make it to that because it's on its way up, I'd say. I think, like, on its way to more mainstream events.
It's not like the track was ever bad and came back up, but it's just finally getting the recognition for like what the track is.
That's what I was more thinking. Yeah. Like the track's always been good, but it's finally starting to ramp up with good events and good because you could have the best track in the world, but if you only do test and tunes, no one's going to know about it.
Right. And when No Prep Kings went there, it's like it just kind of started to skyrocket.
Yeah, and they recently did a radial race there that went really well. 60-foots were insane.
Yeah, huge pro mod race there. I think it was like the week after the radial race. Still has been hitting it out of the park. I love that track.
I'll have to make it there this year because I know Streetcar Takeover goes there as well.
Yep. Yeah, it's an hour and a half from my house, so it's a nice one. Luckily, I've got Brainerd Motorsports Park 15 minutes from the house, so...
You should host a all-motorcycle drag and drive.
I've thought about it, man. I want to.
Because they've added them to some other drag and drives.
I want to so bad.
And it's really interesting to see people have to carry all of their stuff on a motorcycle.
Yeah. It's I want to do a drag. Like, it's on my to-do list. I mean, you know, being a new dad, and mine's 2.5. It's like,
You can't bring him with you.
yeah, and it's just like I can't really stand to be away from him for that long. So, like, you know, a couple years down the road, maybe I'll do a drag and drive. But I want to.
Seeing the guys on motorcycles do it is a different level. Of tough.
Yeah.
You don't just get to load up your tools and stuff like a car guy.
No.
You can't really tow a trailer. Maybe put a sidecar. I don't know. Like,
I saw one guy that had a trailer.
Did he?
Yeah, there was one guy who had a trailer.
Seems weird to try to tow a trailer.
I've never ridden a motorcycle with a trailer. I've ridden a motorcycle with a sidecar.
That seems doable, like an unhookable sidecar.
Yeah, riding with a sidecar is sketchy. Like, I hated it. I rode a Honda Goldwing with a sidecar, and it was like one of those, like, you give it gas and it pulled to the left. You hit the brakes and pull to the right. It was like you controlled it just as much with the throttle as you did with, like, actually riding it.
But how would you even bring things with you? Just a backpack?
Yeah.
You can't really have much backpack either.
I mean, I don't think I would really. The problem would be fuel cell. Like, I would
still need clothing. Still need, like,
I would need clothing.
your week's worth of things.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like the issue I'm trying to figure out is
But that's what makes it that next level of difficulty.
I've been trying to figure out how to hook up I've been trying to design a trailer hitch that connects with, like, a U-joint, so that it'll move and you can rotate the bike and lean it, and it'll allow the trailer to stay planted while the bike moves. And so, like, I've been working on one of those.
You might be able to use, like, a Heim joint, maybe, like a A-frame style Heim joint.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be hard connecting it to the swing arm. The problem is preventing it from dropping down when it's connected to the swing arm. But I'm trying to figure out something where you could put, like, a light trailer behind the bike. And
could you put it sandwich the axle almost? So it's like, you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just don't.
I don't know how.
I don't like relying on. I guess I don't like relying on tension that much. Like, I was an engineer. I was in the engineering field for 14 years before I got into my current career and all that. But, like, so I went through all that, and I've just seen, like, too much stuff fail from just being held in by tension.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to do that on the bike. So I feel like there's got to be, like, a way to brace from underneath. Like, maybe just add some supports that come down and then brace up. It'd be
really cool to see a drag and drive on bikes.
I've seen it. I've seen the guys that do it, and I want to say they're running, like, 920s or 930s or something, which is good.
Very respectable.
It is very respectable for drag and drive. I want to come and drag and drive, but set the record at, like, 870 or 880.
Yeah.
But I
think that would catch a lot of momentum for motorcycle racing.
Yeah, I want to do it. I just haven't had the time and haven't had the chance to do it yet.
Yeah. I mean, somebody's going to go out there and set the world on fire, I guess, in a drag and drive motorcycle that's, like, you know, part of, I know how much you care about this sport, so, like, you know, it gains a lot of publicity, and, like, if you could have some kind of cool trailer system, that gains an extra level of publicity.
Yep.
And I think that would just almost get the ball rolling from there.
Yeah, it's just figuring out the logistics of it. I would probably do Hot Rod Drag Week, just because, you know, they're more in the proximity of where I'm at.
Yep.
Be closer to do, and got more friends in that area. If I have an issue, I can call for help. But
the nice thing about a motorcycle is, like, if there is an issue, you could get into, like, the bed of a truck.
Oh yeah.
If your car has an issue, you're
kind of screwed.
Yeah, it's a tough deal.
I mean, honestly, like, my bike, half of the guys on drag and drive, like, I could put my bike on their trailer to go, like, if I had to. Like, That's the good thing, but yeah, it's on the list. I've been thinking about it because you can take like that hand slider, add a bunch of weight to it to make it like a true hand clutch bike and ride like it. So you could just ride it to the next track, change your weights out.
Yeah.
When you get there. And that's really all you would have to do.
Can you do that all on just your regular kickstand?
Yeah.
And then you would also need the tools to do that with you.
That requires like 3 wrenches.
So you would still need...
Yeah.
I mean, you would need some stuff.
You would need a few things.
You would need a baggie of tools.
I would need when I was thinking about it the other day, I would need at least 2 spare clutches, just in case. The wrenches to change out weights with. And I mean, that's really like all I could come up with is like, of course you're like little things that you might need, like a 2-step button or a clutch lever, like just like little things that could go out that probably don't go out, but if they do go out, you're not going to have them with you. But if you have them with you, they don't go out. You know how that works?
Yeah, of course.
So like kind of try to figure out what I would need, but
usually the first drag and drive people overpack.
Yeah.
And then their second drag and drive, they underpack, but they needed the overpack.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed.
Yeah, like, if you overpack on the first one, you don't need anything, and then by your second one, you underpack and you needed everything.
Yep.
It's kind of how it ends up rolling,
unfortunately.
Yeah,
it's something I want to try.
It'd be really cool on motorcycle stuff. I think that'd be a hit.
Did you complete it? Did you ever complete Drag and Drive?
Yeah, sick week. Yep.
Okay, you did.
I completed the second sick week I did.
Okay.
Yep.
In the Mustang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I was able to do that, and the first one I made it, within 50 miles from the last track.
I remember that.
So that was like,
that one broke my heart.
Darn, it was close, but I accept that as an L. Yep. I did not turn in a slip on the last day.
It happens.
I get it. Trans failed on me. Yeah, it's a tough deal, but I was close. I raced at every track.
Right.
I made a pass at every track.
Yeah.
But didn't make it all the way home, so it's part of it.
Yeah, it was close, but yeah, at least you got one completed.
Yeah. So salt flat racing too is an interesting one on bikes.
Yeah. Those guys.
That's a pretty big segment of motorcycles as well.
That's the biggest thing, I think.
For motorcycle racing, competitive motorcycles, what would you say?
World record, like world record racing, I guess, is what those guys are. It's just so like it's like its own little niche, and they're
like that in the car world too. They're kind of like their own special breed of people.
I think people did more of that before like motorcycle drag racing really got popular. And then the salt flat stuff it's neat. World Land Speed stuff it's wild. Those guys are saving they're switching to titanium bolts to save a pound. Because a pound matters to them.
Yeah, because when you're just doing top speed,
I could never imagine switching to titanium bolts on everything just to save a pound.
Yeah. It's actually, even in drag racing, it's pretty common. Titanium, everything.
It's
for cars, but when you talk about a car trying to save a pound, it's crazy. At least like when you guys are talking about trying to save a pound, it's like 1%.
Yeah.
2%.
Yeah.
When I'm talking about it, it's like
half.
Not even half of a percent.
It's stupid.
So that's how you got to think about it too in bikes is the percentage is huge.
Oh yeah.
Like you're talking if you get a titanium frame, take 20 pounds off.
Yeah.
That's very large.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So I'm a little envious of that.
Yeah, it's and like I said, I roll in a 24-foot enclosed trailer. I carry.
That's pretty big for a bike guy.
I carry 2 race bikes, 3 pit scooters. It's got a futon in the front. It's got 2 overhead beds, cabinets, tools, like everything.
Yeah.
In a 24-foot trailer. And it's like, 2 race bikes, and we run SDBA out of there, so we've got like 6 canopies, and but it's still, I could not imagine trying to run a car, like run a car. Like I couldn't imagine trying to run a car out of a 24-foot trailer.
Yeah, I think after a while you just get so streamlined with everything.
Yeah.
And you start to cut things.
Yeah.
It depends on how far you're going as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like if I'm going to Texas,
right.
I'm stressing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're taking everything.
I can't figure out how to pack everything. But if I'm going to Bradenton, I'm just like,
yeah.
Maybe I have enough fuel.
Right.
I'll figure it out when I get there.
Yeah, the track's got fuel.
10 minutes away. It's like, whatever. If I forgot something, it's not that far.
Yeah.
So it's also that part of things.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, if you drive 10 hours from home and something breaks, you're going to be pretty pissed if you left it at home.
Yeah. I've been there. I've went to South Georgia, which is 6 hours from my house, and you get there and it's like, oh, forgot my gas can. Now I gotta go figure something out.
Yeah. How much gas does it go through on a pass?
So my tank holds, I'd say a quarter gallon. It goes through on a pass because my tank holds 1.2 gallons, and I have made 4 passes on it. So about a quarter gallon.
So small. That's crazy.
It's insane.
Yeah, I hold like 15 gallons.
Some of the guys that run like MR12 and MRX02, like they're burning through crazy amounts quick. Mine on C12 is just, it's does what it does. And
so you got a nitrous bottle on your shirt. Are you anti-turbo?
No.
No. I feel like in the bike world, there's more animosity towards other power adders than there is.
I don't think there's any animosity. I think it's just harder. It's not nearly as easy to turbo a bike as it is to turbo a car.
Interesting.
I think it's come a long way. Like it's becoming a trend. Like I'm seeing a lot more the guys that are doing turbos. They're just, I think we're just like a few years behind cars. Like everything, it seems like car world happens, and then motorcycles, we start to trend there about 5 years later.
Yeah, like with tuning and ECU stuff.
Yeah, like fuel tech and ECUs. Like, that probably started up 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Pretty big with cars, and now it's just becoming. This year alone, I've seen like 12 or 14 bikes that came out with fuel tech.
It seems like they just have that market cornered.
Yeah.
On a standalone.
Fuel tech.
Because they even do it for probably pretty similar to a bike. They, fuel tech for like a ski, like a jet ski.
Yeah.
So pretty similar concept to a bike in a lot of ways, size-wise and layouts and everything. But same deal, fuel techs on those across the board.
Yeah, the fuel tech. There's a few guys that run max ECU, but fuel tech is definitely the most common one. And it's, I think of it like Android versus iPhone. Like you've got your max ECU. I actually feel like max ECU is capable of more. I feel like you can do more with it, but fuel tech is just so easy to use, so intuitive. And I'm saying all this like completely like biased. Like Fuel Tech is a sponsor of ours, but like I just think Fuel Tech is just so much easier and intuitive.
Yeah, they give you like parameters to work in.
Yeah.
And if you don't, most people don't need to be outside of that parameter.
Right.
And if you're working in them, it's super simple.
Yeah.
If you try to do anything super complex, you're kind of out of luck.
Yep.
Like anything really advanced or
Max
crazy?
CCU, like you can go in, like you can do crazy stuff in it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I don't want to. Like I don't want to.
99.9% of people don't need to.
I'm good. Like
Yeah.
Fuel Tech, I can do time-based compensation and pull timing if my bike starts to spin at half track because the track isn't working great.
Mm-hmm.
Like I can pull a little bit of timing right there and put it back in. Like
So you're using
all
like
I
a
want to need
traction
to
control ish.
do. Ish.
If you're measuring front and rear wheel speed and they don't match up, it starts to pull timing.
So yes, you can set it up that way with Fuel Tech. So basically, what it's receiving is your sprocket sensor.
Mm-hmm.
So it's seeing wheel speed based on that. And
On the motor side, it's measuring.
yeah,
Yeah, so it measures your sprocket that goes to the back, and then does it
Right.
measure the front wheel as well?
some people are putting it on the front wheel. I'm not. I'm just noticing like if there's a sudden increase in RPM, like if it's
Yeah.
suddenly going up, that's telling me like bumps in the track, or it's breaking free.
Yeah, because it should just kind of gradually go up in RPM if it starts to like kind of.
Yeah, if you start
Spike.
seeing little spikes, and then you can add in like a time-based compensation and pull a degree or
Because I'd
half a
imagine if
degree.
you have front and rear wheel speed, you can set up a pretty good traction control
Yeah,
device.
yeah, and they've got wheelie sensors and stuff like that. The 550 has like a built-in wheelie sensor. Has like a built-in gyroscope that you can use for a wheelie sensor.
Well, even once you put a shock sensor on there too,
Yeah.
to see what the rear is doing,
Yep.
because that would give you a lot of usable data
Oh yeah. Yeah.
very simply on a deal like that.
I haven't gotten that in depth with it. Like I just put the Fuel Tech on this winter.
Yeah.
So I'm still trying to nail down like my O2 closed loop and get all that stuff finite. But
You just need wide open. You just need a blip of the throttle, wide open throttle.
yeah, yeah. Except the ride back, I was riding back this past weekend, and it was like, I mean, it was pig rich, and it was just, I mean, just yanking me down the return road, and I was like, all right, we got to do something about this. So my fuel table, like, there's just like all of a sudden at one spot there's a hole, and it's like, my tuner was like, what are you doing? And I was like, yeah, that's just where it does not like to live life on the return road back. And then in the burnout, like it'll start off like a little breaking up a little bit because it's fat, but it's the Fuel Tech is nice being able to adapt everything, and if you're struggling to run the number, you can throw, like I was running like a 562 this past weekend in qualifying. So I added like 1 second of nitrous on the big end and went out there and went dead 2.
Oh, nice.
And it was like, hey. Then as it cooled off, like started pulling it away, and then eventually got down to running on motor, and then added in like a little bit of timing retard to drop it back down to run the number. And
oh, yeah. So really, really able to fine tune to get that number to run. Yeah. Because can't just go out there blind and run the heat of the day tune up.
No.
Thinking that's going to be the same once it cools off.
And the people that don't take looking at air data seriously that baffles me. Like,
yeah, like especially on a nitrous car, you got to know what the water grains are. You got to know how wet that air is.
Yeah.
What the humidity's doing.
There are guys that like, I had one, it was a few years ago, one guy was racing. And we were racing at the beginning of April. Pretty big temperatures swing from like 65 down to like 40 when we were running final, like towards the finals. It's like 40 degrees. And, we're doing everything we can to keep the track temp up. He goes out there, blows the tire off. He comes up and he's like, man, blew the tire off. He goes, I lined up the exact same way as I have all day, had the same tire pressure that I've had all day, did everything the exact same way that I've done it all day, and I blew the tire off, and I go, dude, it's 25 degrees colder.
Yeah.
Like, 25 degrees colder, and you're still doing everything the same way. Like, take a couple pounds of tire pressure out. Like, change your launch RPM. Don't launch as hard. Dial it a little slower. Like, change where you're lining up. Get off the bike and go check the track to see. Like,
that's crazy. Yeah, because that was my first thought. I was like, you got to know what conditions you're racing in. You can't just be like, oh,
people just...
I just run my pass, my tune-up.
I mean, and I see it in car racing all the time, too.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, they're like, what happened? I did the exact same thing I've always done. And I'm like, but it's not the same as it was. Like,
yeah.
I saw in a 1 hour spring, or 1 hour swing, DA dropped from 1,300 to 700 in an hour.
Yep.
And I was like, dude, I'm going to pick up 5 numbers. Like, I'm going to speed up 4 or 5 numbers right now. Dialed it in and went 4 or 5 numbers faster. And I'm like, this guy comes up, my bike's running so much faster, I don't know what's going on. I'm like, dude, like, look, 1,300, 700. Like, you're half.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that's what happens every year at World Cup. It's that free horsepower.
Yep.
People don't realize they're going to get some free horsepower, and normally at World Cup, it's not, oh, I ran a little bit faster. It's, I kicked a rod or two out the side of the block.
And they're running, they're running what they were here, which is now lean up there, and not taking that in, and your closed loop fueling can only do so much.
And every single pass is 10/10 of what you can do. Mm-hmm. Every single car, every single pass has to be all of it in, because that's how those rules are made.
Yep.
And if you're not all in, you're not making the field.
Yep.
So you have to be right on that fine line of, this might blow my shit up, it might not.
Yep. Yeah,
it's either going to go real fast or it's going to kick a rod.
Yeah. Yeah, those I watch the World Cup videos every year.
Yeah, it's a good event.
It's one of my favorites, and I'm not a car guy, but I love just watching. I love competition, so like I just love watching what they're doing up there, and it's insane. I mean,
competitive drag racing is heads up drag racing. No matter what it is, cars, bikes, it's good.
Oh,
it's always fun.
It's always fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's interesting for sure up there.
So with your classes, did we get through them? We were talking 5-10?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We did 5-10.
Wanted to make sure we didn't leave anybody out. I know they'd probably be getting on you if you left a class out.
Let's see. So we got like MPS Racing Pro ET, University of Wynn Proving Grounds, which, so told you that's like our beginner. So there's Ben Knight and Dustin Lee come up with the University of Wynn, which is like a online class for drag racing. And they do like team calls, like have a like they teach you how to drag race.
Interesting.
I mean, it's good for it's good for car guys too.
Yeah.
But they really fit with the beginner class, because like you're a beginner, like you need to learn, like those guys can teach you how. But yeah, we've got University Win Proving Grounds, Dave's Auto Body Top Gas, Hard Times Parts and Service Street ET, Watergraphic Junior Dragsters, MTC Engineering Super Comp, Ring Tuned LLC, True Hand Clutch Class, Burnout Cycles V-Twin, and then Voodoo Motorcycle Components 6.0. And then we've got our Grudge class, which is Rob Bush Grudge, which those guys those are where you see the guys that'll actually get in. And I love seeing slower Grudge bikes race each other. Like, I love seeing that too.
Yeah.
Like, even the pro guys are great. I love watching the pro Grudge racing, but the guys that are like Grudge racing and running 6.0s in the 8th mile, like, I'm like, I love watching this, because they're just going off on each other.
Do you even give them a slip for that? Do you give slips on that Grudge race?
No.
No slips at all, just...
No, if they're running a no-time Grudge race, times are off and everything, but, like, well,
sometimes, like, we, in testing for no time, we get slips, but then competition, no slips.
Right.
So...
Yeah, no, it depends, like, if it's a Grudge race, in the Grudge class, because a lot of people use it for testing, like, they'll get a slip. But if it's an actual grudge race, we're usually not giving a slip.
Yeah, I like that. Keeps it really mysterious, even to the driver.
Yeah.
Because they can guess, they can look at their data, they can kind of know, but keeps it a lot more mystery.
I like to keep it down low and watch those guys, like...
Yeah.
I just love the banter between, like, it cracks me up.
Yeah, they get into it.
Yeah, for sure.
They can get rough at a grudge race.
So now the question is what's it going to take for you to get on a bike?
Oh, no.
Come on.
Not doing that. I'm not doing that at all. I'm good on that, man. I don't think there's that many people that are like, I just had a kid 4 months ago. I'm going to get into motorcycle racing.
I mean, give it a couple of years and then come to one of our races. I'll put you on a bike.
I'll watch.
I'll put you on one. And we'll see. Okay. I'll put you on my Busa, and it'll put you on the Busa. It's got auto shift. We'll drop the auto shift down to like 8,000 RPM, so it won't be too fast. And
man, my wife would probably kill me.
I think Bronte'd be okay. I think she'd be all right.
Do you have cages involved?
You got a good helmet.
I like my cage.
You got a good helmet.
I like my cage. I respect it.
I've always told people, I don't want to be strapped in to something that could catch on fire. I don't want to be strapped into it. I don't want to be strapped into it and possibly not be able to get out.
Yeah, but I've always been able to get out. I've always had a good ability to get out of the car.
Yeah, most people do. But like there is the chance though that like you couldn't. Mine is like,
of course.
If my bike catches on fire or I wreck, like I'm sliding down the track.
Yeah, like it's over there on fire.
Yeah, like I'm sliding down the track. I'm not on fire. Mm-hmm. Like I'm just cruising on my back down the track.
Or sliding on fire would be uncommon.
Yeah, that would be very, very rare. But yeah, being in a car, like when I raced dirt bikes, I had quite a few concussions, and like I think that's what scares me is like if I was to hit something, get knocked unconscious, be strapped in and not be able to get out, like that worries me.
Yeah, I guess being unconscious in a car, bouncing around the track.
Yeah.
I've seen Justin Swanstrom have that happen to him where he had an initial hit.
Yep.
Unconscious, and then the car was just kind of mind of its own.
That scared me so bad when I saw that.
Yeah, that's a scary situation. Yeah. And it's almost immediate. It was just like knocked out, like KO'd right there.
And I just, I don't want to, I want to be able to just get off whenever I want to. Even if it's at 100 miles an hour. If I want off, I can get off.
Yeah, that makes sense. I get that.
It's really not that bad. So my family's been doing it since 78, 79. My grandpa got into it. My dad got into it. Did really well in Top Gas. Quit 93. I raced juniors from the time I was 6 until I was 13. And then got back into motorcycle drag racing when I was back in 2017. So... like my family's been doing it for a long time. Mm-hmm. Thank God nobody's been hurt. The risk is not nearly as much as like racing motocross. And
on the drag strip, like when you slide, it's a pretty confined space.
There's one other bike on the track. It's no jumps, no turns, straight way. I mean, it's... yeah,
they're not just going to send a bunch... like there's not 20 more coming behind like a motocross where you're going to get trampled.
Yep.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's not something I see myself doing.
I'm gonna work on it. We're gonna get you on one in a couple of years.
You can try. I'm pretty stubborn.
We're gonna try.
Yeah.
I mean they're fun. The Busa's not hard to ride. You could handle it.
I don't know, man. I'm a pretty bad driver.
No.
I guess I'm not. You're not even a driver at that point. You're just a rider, just along for the ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got, like I said, like with the guys on the street, like you've got riders and you've got guys that sit on them, and like, that's where it matters. Like, if you make sure, like, don't get lax, remember that you're in control, like, and know that you're riding it and you've got to ride it, like, you'll be fine.
Yeah.
This is the guys that get, like, too comfortable. They think, you know.
I think I'd have to ride a lot more before I'm comfortable going down track. I have not done that much two-wheel riding.
Yeah.
It's been a long time to be like, oh, yeah, no problem. It's been a long time since I've done two-wheel riding. By design. Just by choice.
Borrow one of Garza's. Like,
yeah, I'll just crash something at Garza's. Yeah, I'll start there.
It wouldn't be the first time it's been crashed.
No, it's crashed already. Well, good deal, man. Guys, check out SDBA for, drag bike stuff. If you have a motorcycle and you want to go try it out, check them out, find them on all social media, and the event schedules and everything like that I'll put in the description for whatever you can find. But dude, thanks for coming on. This was a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.